4, 3, 2, 1.
Sweet. Hey everyone, welcome back to our .NET user group meeting. We took a little break last week, so we'll go ahead and get started. So here's our agenda for tonight. So we'll do the intro and some housekeeping stuff, and then we'll move on to our lightning talks, which are a maximum 5-minute speaking time on any number of topics. And then we'll have a presentation with Kate Sky on how consulting can improve your skills as a developer and more. And then lastly, for those who are staying for the book club, we'll have that as well. So sweet. So in the chat, there's a couple links. So we do have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to, or you can search slz.net user group. That works as well. And as a reminder, throughout this presentation, we are accepting Q&A. That's kind of like the style that Kate wants to do. So anytime you have a question, please just feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. So we should be good on that. And now it's lightning talks. So again, this is the time slot set out for you guys to kind of casually share fun and interesting idea. It doesn't have to be .NET, but it can be like related or about .NET. Again, so maximum is 5 minutes, and I'll time you, and you don't have to use up the whole time slot. So if anyone has anything to share, please do. I also believe that there was a proposal for lightning talks on lightning talks from way back when, so.
That could happen if it needs to.
It might need to.
I would like to make it awkward longer first.
Of course you would.
I live for awkwardness, None. Don't you know this about me?
I need to embrace it. I need to learn the woman way. I get you. I'm just looking for my camera.
No, and I think you should just channel your inner rage out. And instead of being awkward, just be a rage monster.
Oh, I don't control my rage. I just let that beast run free. Just whenever she wants to pop up, she does.
Just yell at everyone until someone gives a lightning talk. It would work, right?
It works better in person. I think it doesn't translate through a virtual setting.
Well, that's your lightning talk, Nana. How to channel your rage monster.
How to have mental problems. Awesome.
All right. I could give a quick one on lightning talks then, if that would be helpful. Hi, everyone. I'm Will, and today I'm going to give you a lightning talk on lightning talks. Welcome to Inception. So really quickly, a lightning talk is just a 5-minute or less talk where you talk about something that you learned or something that's interesting to you, or basically anything that could be interesting to this audience. So given the type of people who show up here, that could be anything from just something incredibly nerdy to something that has something to do with business or with .NET in specific, like some new cool thing that you learned, or a blog that you read that you liked, or a website, or a podcast, or really anything. So the reason why I like lightning talks, a couple of things. I think they have some great benefits. One, it's an opportunity to just practice your public speaking a little bit. And right now I'm trying to focus on looking at the camera, which is really difficult for me. I always want to look at the mic, or I want to look at my screen or something like that. And so this is a great opportunity for me to improve my skills at presenting in video chat format. So I like that. It's a great opportunity to exercise those skills, flex those muscles, whatever it is that you have to do there. Another thing that I really like about lightning talks is for us as an organizing group, we like to see people give us like a brief talk, and it gives us an idea sometimes of someone who might be good at giving a longer form talk for us. And it helps us to kind of get a sense for, that person and their speaking style and that type of thing. The third thing I really like about lightning talks is we always show appreciation for people who give a lightning talk. It's not always easy to just ramble on for a few minutes in front of everybody, although I'm king of rambling. I could ramble all day if you'd want to let me. We always want to show appreciation for those people who give lightning talks. And so, we'll do that using the reactions in Zoom, or, if we're in person, we would actually probably would applaud and just let folks know that we appreciate the effort that they went through to kind of take that step and put yourself out there and tell us a little bit about something that we think might be interesting. The flip side of it is, I think there are more opportunities to give short talks to people and to learn how to structure them in a way that makes it meaningful communication to people. And as engineers and people who focus mostly on technology, I think those skills are often overlooked as ones that can be very valuable. And so I think just the practice can help, especially if you're focusing on what you're doing and trying to improve. So that's my lightning talk about lightning talks. Are there any questions? I'll tell you, I've probably given maybe 10 lightning talks over the years.
In this like user group meeting, or like even at work and stuff? In
other places too, at work, at like sometimes when you're waiting for a meeting to start and people are showing up late or something, it can be a good chance to do that in some cases. But yeah, I think they're pretty handy, and I've done them at this meetup and at some other meetups as well. Yeah, and I love the knowledge sharing part of it too. Like, you don't always have something that you want to talk about for 60 minutes or 45 or however long a real long talk is, but 5 minutes, you got something. Everybody has something.
Maybe. No, but I like it. I like the explanation.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Anybody want to have their own lightning talk?
I'm going to be done. Thank you for listening to my lightning talk.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Talk when you're ready to go on. Oh, looks like Steve is raising his hand too.
Is that a raising hand? Steve, do you have a question, or is that a clap?
That was clapping. Go ahead, Lane.
Okay. Awesome.
So I think a few of you, I know Steve from the Software Craftsmanship meetup. My name's Lane Lund. I currently work with Vine Dental, and lately I have been, I kind of have a passion about using tools and especially IDEs. So I think it is important for us to get to know the tools that we have and the features. I could probably give something a little bit more in detail about specific keyboard shortcuts in different IDEs as well. But basically, that's kind of been on my mind lately. I see some developers sometimes using an IDE, like a full-blown IDE, as a editor, but not initially taking advantage of the other features, whether it's the inline debugger or navigating code. Especially navigating code is one of the huge ones that I use all the time. Also, I happen to use JetBrains tools, which have built-in like database features, so you can, in the same window that you're editing your code, you can also connect to your database and poke around at data and write SQL statements to see what's going on at that level if necessary. Yeah, so my encouragement is to, whatever editor you're using, learn the tools, find the add-ons and extensions to help supercharge your day-to-day work. And that's all I have. Any questions or comments?
No, I think that was good advice.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Elaine, so now that you talked about ReSharper, right? It looks like Visual Studio now has a lot of the same features that ReSharper had, like as standard ReSharper thing, but now it seems like Visual Studio had a lot of those things already built into it, or is it not true? Or am I missing something?
So maybe to back up a little bit, I am not really a C# programmer. I'm actually just starting at a company within the last couple of weeks on a C# project. And so I'm not familiar with ReSharper itself. And basically what I was trying to emphasize here is, whether I come from a Python background primarily and use PyCharm / IntelliJ with plugins, but I will be learning Rider and ReSharper probably. And if those features are built, any features that are built into Visual Studio, and I know like in the C# world, Visual Studio has been primarily the primary editor to use in IDE. But whatever the features are, my encouragement right now is learn what those features are and use them. And it's not like I use keyboard shortcuts, and I don't, it's hard to just memorize all of them all at once, but just find one or two at a time, or one or two features in your editor and start using them. So I don't know if that really answers your question, because I'm not familiar with Visual Studio or ReSharper, either one. And you're muted now.
Okay, you are muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
I think my mic just went muted. Is there like a favorite shortcut that you like?
So in IntelliJ, probably the one that I use the most is Command-Shift-A or Control-Shift-A if you're on Windows. That's the command palette, or it's a search, so you can type in and search basically any command in the thing. And I know Visual Studio Code has a similar shortcut with Command-Shift-P.
Cool, thanks.
So I'd almost never click through menus.
Nice. And you got 30 seconds left. Do you have any more insightful nuggets to share? No.
How insightful it is, but just a encouragement to learn your tools.
Good. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. I need to figure out how to do the clappy thing from here, but thanks guys for your lightning talks. Sweet. Let's dive into it. So a little bit about our speaker tonight, Kate Skye. Kate's a full stack developer with over 20 years of experience, and she specializes in the front end development using the Angular platform. She is also a founder of the CSA Technologies, Inc., which allows her to empower companies with her consulting work. And she's also a mother of 5 remarkable children, which is sweet. And we've enjoyed seeing her come to our user group meetings from time to time. So Kate, I will now turn over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am from the Chicago area, and we used to have a .NET meetup here, but somehow it dissipated over time. We used to meet in the Lake County area community college. And I really enjoyed their community and just seeing all the new things about it. And then since it wasn't around anymore, I was looking for something similar, and that's how I stumbled upon your meetup. So thank you so much for doing it online, because I can, visit Utah without visiting Utah. The funny story about CSA Technologies, it was created back when I had only 3 children, and CSA stands for the initials of my first 3 children. We had since 2 more children, but the company name stayed the same. So if I wanted to know like how old is my company, I would go to the last letter, which is an A, and that's my middle child, and she's 12 years old. So that's how I remember how long I've been a consultant. But the way it started was really a chance encounter because I just had my third child, and I finished up a long-term job that I was working on, just not happy there, and I left it just kind of in between what it was going to be next for me. And this consulting company called me, and he says, "Hey, I was looking for VB developers in the area where you live, and this company is looking for a consultant. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Of course I'm interested. I don't have a job." So, and it was a corp to corp deal, so I had to open up a company right away. So I called my accountant, and that's how CSA Technology was born. So I was invited to work for this company called Stericycle. It's in northwestern suburbs of Chicago. The project that was failing that they wanted me to work on was they were trying to combine SQL Server instances, like they had different regions, and now they wanted to create one single database with different regions. So long story short, I ended up converting to full-time there, which, but let me just go back to introduction. So right now, I am a consultant. I do it full-time for a company here in Chicago called Aon. So if you know Sears Tower that's in Chicago was then renamed to Willis Tower. Aon was trying to buy that building, and it failed because of the monopoly rules in Europe. So that's the company that I work for. And I consult there through another company, and that's how usually my consulting works. Is there is a consulting company that has a deal with another company, and they look for consultants, and they get some kind of rate from the company, and they pay me whatever rate I ask for, and then they get to keep the cut. So that's how consulting works in Chicago. I have tried but failed to find contracts just like straight through just my own company and just like, hey, Aon or whatever company hire me, I want to do consulting for you, just because big companies in Chicago, they have these big accounting, not contracts, but just their accounting departments. They don't want to deal with writing checks to multiple companies, right? So they just prefer to have these preferred companies that they hire consultants from. So that's kind of why I always work through another consulting company that actually writes checks to me. But I still consider myself a consultant because I do charge for 40 hours a week, but I don't get any vacations. I don't have any medical or anything through them. I kind of have to take care of that all on my own. And at this, my husband had a full-time position where we had medical through him, but now he's also doing consulting, which for us financially, it makes a lot of sense because, speaking of like meetups are great, but to be able to like we still go to conferences, and we have to pay for them ourselves. So if you are a full-time employee, you would want your company to sponsor that for you. But unless you are like pretty good with your manager, I don't know how it works for you guys, but my last conference that I attended through the work that where I was a full-time employee was when .NET was announced in Microsoft, and we had a conference in Chicago. It was a big conference. I even had like a Microsoft bag, and I went there with my manager because I was like their second best developer at the team or something like that. consulting kind of gives you that that feeling that you could pretty much go anywhere you choose. Although I have to tell you the truth, that having 5 children did prevent me from traveling to all of these conferences that I wanted to travel to as a consultant. But now with everything being online, it kind of opened up a lot of opportunities because I could just announce, hey, I'm taking a couple of days off. I'm going to be at this conference. And the reason I kind of announced to Nan about how it could improve you as a developer, being a consultant, is it kind of keeps you on your toes, right? Because you can't really just sit back and work on your project without thinking ahead. Like you kind of have to, being in like a businesswoman or businessman, you kind of have to plan ahead. What is your business going to do next? And that's something that we have to think about. Not only like we have to figure out ahead like what our budget is, but also how many days I can take off, whatnot. And also if my contract is over, because for example, the contract that I'm on right now, it's 6 months rolling. So like I've been on this one for 2.5 years, and it's usually they sign a 6 months contract and then it's extended. So say December comes, I am always hopeful that I get extended if I'm happy at this contract. But there could always be a pandemic or something else, and you have to be ready to be laid off. But that is true even with the full-time, right? Even if you're a full-time employee. One of the perks about being a consultant is they cannot directly ask you to work over 40 hours. Although I do sometimes work over the amount of time that, let's say we have a Scrum ceremonies, and we work on this whole agile situation on our team. And if I know that we have a release and for some reason something took me longer than I anticipated, and I really don't want the team to fail, I will stay longer and I will work more than 8 hours a day. And that's and I would not charge for it. Unless the only time I would charge for overtime if the manager comes into me and says, hey, we have a release, we need you to work extra time, can you put in the hours? That's the only time. And it barely happens because at this company, it happened a couple of times, release time, where I was asked to work on the weekends and I got paid for those. But usually for companies, it's hard for them to find new budget for these overtimes, right, for consultants. So that's kind of like a caveat. It's a plus and a minus, because I know the full-time employees, they do get time off after they put in long hours, and they get like some extra bonuses or whatnot. So it's not black and white for sure, where like it's absolutely great to be a consultant, because you do have to have a mentality of best case scenario where like the way I look at my contract being over in December, and if I don't get extended comes January, I will have some nice time off. This is how I look at it. Although it rarely happened, the only time when it did happen is when my contract was over, when my last child was born. He's 5 right now, so it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I was actually also working remote for a company, and for some reason they didn't extend me, and it was probably June, and I actually did not look for a contract until September. I really just like enjoyed my summer. I was trying to get into shape after a baby, so it was perfect timing for me. And that's kind of what I want to say about the state of mind is you really have to be positive. You have to have a positive mindset, but also you have to put in the work of being ready to learn something new. And I'm a proponent of learning new technology on the job while you're getting paid, but sometimes that's not the case. And that is kind of what I was doing. Like I really got excited about Angular framework. I did a little project on that contract that I was rolled off of. so I just decided to just like go ahead and take in all the different courses on Pluralsight, and I wanted to just to get really good because I knew my next contract I wanted to do something Angular. Because we were still going to offices, I ended up taking a contract for a company that was all APIs, and I didn't end up on their front end project. So I don't know if you guys know CDW. That's one of the bigger companies out here who sell like computers and stuff. So so I worked on their integration team. So I worked on all APIs, .NET. So when I got interviewed there, one of the things that I was asked is how do you document your APIs? And I had no idea. I didn't document any APIs. And you know, I exactly that's what I said. I haven't done it, but if there is a way, I'll figure it out. So that's, and actually one of the first things that I implemented on the team is we added to all of our APIs Swagger documentation. So if anybody is not doing it, it's like the best thing that ever happened to any APIs, because on that team, APIs were used internally. So it was not like an external API, it was internal, but there was many teams. And all of the different teams were consuming those APIs, and it was really useful to be able to just open the Swagger link and being able to either try the API or just even see, you know, what the API is expecting and what it's doing and stuff. So learning as a consultant, you're kind of forced, but since, you know, we are as developers, one of our key advantages is we just like to learn. It's you can't not learn if you're a developer long term. It's just something in our blood. So you kind of have to just cultivate it a little bit more and kind of just put a little bit more spice into it, because sometimes it's expected of you as a consultant. You know, sometimes you come in and they know, like for me, because I'm over 20 years of experience, and I have expertise in different areas, it's kind of expected for me to just come in and figure it out. So, for example, when just to see like what different frameworks and stuff that I worked on. So one of my first jobs, I worked with VB4, then what was VB6, and then that contract that I talked about after my middle child was VB script, which when they hired me there, they knew I knew VB. So so when I came in there and they, you know, I had to kind of figure out how the whole IIS worked and how VB scripts and all the com, decom, DLLs were loaded into IIS. So it was really overwhelming for me, but it was exciting because, you know, I was learning something new. It was the kind of the edge of web development. But after that, I moved into, once the C# came available, I went into C#, and I was working with MVC and Razor views. So that was kind of my specialty. And going back a couple of consulting gigs away, I was on this one company, it's called Sure Payroll. They were bought out. It was a startup company, and it was bought out by a big accounting firm. I forget which one it was. And I was working on MVC there, and then we had in Chicago area, we had a consulting company that opened up their office, just hiring consultants. Like I think pretty much all of the consultants from Chicago area went through that consulting company working for them. And we were working on a government contract for a company in what is it called? Next to Salt Lake City, there's another, I forgot the name of the company. Anybody knows about SNC Corp? It's near Salt Lake City. There's another small town, but so they actually have their office there in the town that I don't remember. But they opened a consulting company because Chicago. They were thinking through different hubs. Like, is it going to be New York or some Silicon Valley? So they picked Chicago because Chicago is kind of the rates are not going to be as high as Salt Lake City, but you could still get top consultants. So we were working on a project for them to monitor inventory for a NASA rocket or some sort. But the funniest story is after we worked on it, they didn't get the contract. Some other company got it. But that just tells you how the consulting sometimes works. Is you're not necessarily going to be working on the real project that's going to be going in use. It could be just, maybe it's going to be used in the real life, but maybe it's not. So they ended up rebranding the software that we were writing for this rocket. I don't know if it was a rocket or a ship or some sort of thing. And I don't know if they used it internally for their stuff or something like this. But this company went like, if I talk to somebody in Chicago area, a lot of people went through this consulting company, and they just, what they do is usually they go through the database through all of the people who consult, and they go, hey, how much are you making right now? And they just give you like 20 or 25% more, and they hire you. And, if you want to leave, then you leave. And I actually ended up working for them for like 3 years. It was until, I don't know if they closed down, and then I worked a little bit for them remotely through the other office. So what we did on that contract was we did Razor views. Then we ended up using Knockout as the front end framework. Anybody knows Knockout? You've heard? Okay. Then the manager said, next big thing is Angular. Let's do Angular. So we went and did, it was right on the cusp of AngularJS going to Angular 2. So we ended up doing Angular 2. So this is the fun thing about consulting is, sometimes these companies have this budget and they want to do something like, it could be maybe a startup or some budget situation that they have to fulfill, and they just want to go to the next best thing. And I don't know if you've met this in the companies that you work for, that's very risky when you have a budget that's like monitored by, your CTOs or CIOs or whatever, and you actually expect it to make money versus like, here's the budget, just make some software kind of thing. And to tell you the truth, the CDW situation, when I left there, right around the pandemic, there was about 80 consultants there, and every one of them was laid off. And they were there for years, like I'm talking 8 years, 10 years kind of thing. And the reason they kept them as consultants is because to get top experts, like for, C# and .NET and everything, it's really difficult to find people who are already making pretty good money consulting, and they would be asked to convert, and they wouldn't, they wouldn't accept it because the conversion does not match up to the compensation you get as a consultant, because you write off your equipment, your travel expenses, your car, your computers, pretty much all of the expenses associated with consulting. You write it off before you pay taxes versus when you get a check as a full-time employee, your taxes are withdrawn before you actually make those expenses. So that's really the biggest positive thing about consulting. Everything else is just more work, more worries, and more mindset situation that you have to control. Just personality thing, and it's not for everyone. Obviously, it's. I've heard a lot of times from people that I work with is they would never do consulting, and that's okay, because it's really is not for everyone, because you can't spend everything you make, even though like it ends up being a little bit more. You have to be conscious about that your contract could be over and you might not have it, for the next 3 months. So any questions?
Yeah, I have one. So I know like you kind of have your own like pattern of how to go in there and like start doing things right away. But like for people who've never done that, what would your advice, I guess, be? Like, how do you quickly pick up like the current tech staff that they have, their business contacts, and the people that you're going to work around? Like, I guess, what's your
Sure.
process?
I think what worked for me the best is usually when I come in, my very first thing that I do is I try to set up the development environment just like everybody else, and I do that as fast as I could, and I will ask everybody questions. Like I never sit and just wait for somebody to set it up. That's like I know I'm there to be productive as soon as possible, deliver value as soon as possible. So that is my goal, to get set up under 1 week. If I'm sitting there for 2 weeks and I'm still not set up, I know there's something wrong, and I'm trying. This is kind of what happened with my previous contract, and I came in, and it was really difficult to get started. And I just like went in there and I started documenting everything I'm doing, because I actually became a lead on that team. And as people started coming in, I wanted to get them started as fast as possible. So that's kind of, if you see the situation is not ideal, it's really, really important to take a lead and try to fix it and propose, hey, next time somebody comes in, here's the documentation, all of the things that I countered, and you're actually going to be helpful, and you're going to show yourself as a proactive leader, right? Another thing is what I found useful is as I get assigned my very first task, what I do is I go to either my Scrum Master or my BA, whoever's writing those user stories, and there's usually goes around, there's some kind of talk about like how somebody screwed up, or how that person left is because it was so horrible, and this is not working and that's not good. So my very first question is how can I be successful in delivering this user story? Like what do I need to be worried about when I do this? And usually people are very open and they're very helpful, and they tell you like, hey, this person didn't really test this in this scenario, that scenario. Please make sure you try it in these different browsers or whatever. So just asking questions that are kind of, first of all, you are going to show people that you're open, and you also make that people communication, build those bridges with important people, and you show them that you don't know everything and they know more, and you want them to show you, and you're not worried about them thinking like you're stupid or whatever, because you don't know the project that you're coming into. You don't know anything about the business. And like this business I came into, it was it's a portal for human resources research. So like I've never been in this kind of business. It's not accounting, it's not inventory, it's nothing that I've been around. And so I kind of had to build a picture of what it is right away, and just asking questions and building a rapport with the important people. And even you think that managers are the most important people, and then it's not. It's usually like your QAs, your BAs. Those are the very important people that you're going to be interacting day in, day out. So yeah, and I try to build relationships with people right away. Like, we usually there are some small alliances, and you can't fit everywhere. Right now, it's even harder with being remote. I can't even imagine joining a team on the remote situation. So I've done it before, but what helped me was like going to the office and meeting everybody, and then I was remote. So just to put a face, like a real person to like a picture on the screen. But yeah, so there's never a stupid question about something you don't know, because there's usually there's many things that you don't know. And if you find that there is a piece of technology that you don't know, is first you ask the question like, what is the best way for me to learn this technology? Like, for example, I came in here and they're using a content management system that I've never encountered before. And I wasn't expected to work on it, but I kind of have to have an idea like what is going on here, right? So just asking them a question like, how did you get to know it? What made you successful in becoming an expert in this technology? And usually people are open to share. If they're not open to share, which happens sometimes, people are like, and they're either busy to open up or they're really worried about their job and they don't want to give it away to anyone else. It happens too. And that's okay. In this case, you go and look for it on the internet. It's, there are other people who might be experts on that. So, but that was a good question. I totally forgot to talk about it.
We have another question from PW. So outside of the financial incentives for being a contractor, do you think it's helped your career to have the opportunity to work on many different kinds of projects?
I think my biggest opportunity right now lies in my choice, being able to choose what I want to work on versus having that mindset of lacking, like there's not another job for me. I'm because I've been consulting, I have a track record that I'm able to come in and get started right away and fast. I have pretty good track record. So just being able to have that peace of mind that I can do this, and trust me, I've gone through imposter syndrome my whole career, just like everyone else. And it took a little bit of practice and just kind of meditating on, I can do this. You've done that, like you do all these things, but you just kind of brush them away, and it attacks you from the dark corners of your mind. But just reminding myself that, hey, I can do this. And actually, I've been since I've been consulting, I started writing my own blog, and kind of opportunities started coming to me. And I think every person who is who wants to build up their career should work on their professional brand. They call it personal brand or whatever. And I think being able to come into a company and just show them that, hey, you have a GitHub repository, you have some kind of track record of writing complex software, is going to help you more than just having LinkedIn recommendations, which they're still good. Don't get me wrong. I still ask for them after I leave my jobs. But having that outside view from, like, if you Google my name, you're probably gonna find a couple of different links to like the YouTube presentation I did on Angular, and somebody asked me to author a technical course, which I never done. I tried because it just takes so much time. I just couldn't put myself to it. But right now, what's next for me is thinking that I know Angular enough to be an expert and be recognized as an expert. So I want to try and get Google Developer Expert Badge, which in itself is a whole process. There's a lot of work ahead of me, but I think just having that community of people to that you help and you empower is really rewarding. And I could probably do the same thing as a full-time employee. It's nothing stopping anyone who is a full-time employee to do the same thing. And I'm still, like, the consulting company that I work through, they do, have one-on-ones with me, and they go like, hey, Kate, please don't leave just like on a whim on a 2-week notice. Can you please just give us some heads up if you're not happy, blah, blah, blah. And in my, like, what is my next career goal? I'm not planning to leave this company. If everything works out through December, I'm probably going to stay. But, who doesn't dream about something bigger, right? Everybody does. I don't know if everybody does or not, but I do. There's, for example, there is a Reliable Web Summit conference that's coming up on the 26th and the 27th. It's the organizers are the same as NGConf. So if anybody knows about NGConf. So the same people are organizing the Reliable Web Summit. And I think web is so important in our lives right now that no matter how back-end developer you are, there's always going to be some kind of interface that you're going to have to build. And that just kind of shows, through my journey that, just writing, like I was writing VB application for Windows, that was still interface. Like I still had to write interfaces, just all on the web now. But there was a lot of back-end things that were there, and that was kind of, and it still is very much respected. And I think the front web developers are getting a lot more respect lately too, because it's so important to have good web interface right now. And I was gonna say something else. Well, I kind of lost my thought there. Oh yeah, the Web Summit. So I got free tickets there. So if anybody interested, I could probably get one more ticket to Reliable Web Summit as my friend. So if you guys want to do like spin the wheel on it. Sorry, I didn't ask you before, but we could maybe get one person to go. Or I could just give one to the organizer. I don't know, I should have asked before. There's also two people who were original team members on the Angular team have this company called Narwhal. They have this tool called NX. I don't know if anybody knows. And there is an NX conference. I'm also going to that because I want to be an NX expert. And I work with an NX, not on this project that I'm currently on, but I think for microsites and just being a building micro front ends, it's a pretty important technology to master. So I'm, kind of being in charge of going to a conference that I know is going to benefit my career just empowers me as a consultant, as a person. I don't know. It just gives me some kind of superpower. It's versus like, hey, can you pay for my whatever. I don't know. Maybe you could go on your own if you were a full-time employee too. I guess I never did, but that's not because I was a full-time employee. It was just because I had too many babies. So yeah, but that was a great question. I hope I answered without too much rambling.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Yeah, I do have another one. Is it more networking as a consultant? So like, I mean, everyone, we all have to kind of network to some degree or another, but as a consultant, like, is that, I guess like I'm 20% more for your job to keep like in touch with all these people?
That's a good question. So I think I realized that networking is so important right when I was already a consultant and I started networking like crazy. Like I'm on Twitter, like I try to be on a tech Twitter. And so I think it's not just for consultants. I think everybody who wants to advance their career should be networking, being it going to these meetups, presenting at these meetups. And I think I don't do enough of it. I should be doing more of it. Although I did one on Tuesday. I did do a presentation on Angular Chicago. But I'm just saying, what it shows that not only that you care about the company that you work for, but you also care about sharing your knowledge with other people. And there's like my two nieces, they are computer science students. And what I'm hearing from them being in school is they are underserved from what they're learning in terms of technology. They're not getting up-to-date information. They don't really know what their next step is. And if you can mentor just one person from all the people that you network with. Trust me, there's going to be at least one person who's going to help you out with your next project, next job and whatnot, just because that's just how it works. You know, it's a paid forward kind of thing. You do have to kind of take faith in that it's going to work, but it always works. I've seen it over and over again in my career. Will, did you have a question? You are muted.
I was thinking about asking a question,
Do it.
but I don't know if it's well, yeah, I'm going to ask it because I think it's interesting, even if it's not, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So tell me, if you would, like, do you ever experience like, I don't know, antagonism or anything like that when you come into a new company as a consultant? How do you deal with that if you do?
Yes, I have left the contract because of that. There is a little bit of a stigma from that just was my experience from a manager that because I was promoted to a lead, I was what they would want to have from a lead is to work crazy hours, oversee all of the work that happens on the team and do it all on their own time. And just because the way I was promoted to lead was not how I would want anyone to be promoted to lead. So I did not do that. I worked my regular hours and I did my best, but they couldn't come out straight to me and say, hey, why don't you work weekends? Why don't you work, crazy hours? So there was just like this negativity, and I felt it day in, day out. That was one reason why I would feel negativity. I left there. Like as soon as that started happening, I left that company as soon as I found my next contract, and I was pretty open I was going to leave. Sometimes I did encounter from full-time employees, that they felt that they are, I don't know, unfairly, maybe compensated or something, because I do sometimes come out as this free thinking spirit on the team. And sometimes I could, say something that it's not very, boxed in situation where, I know that somebody didn't like when I said, this is just a job. People don't like when somebody says that. And, I do feel that it's the job is just as important as your family life, and family comes first to me. And if somebody thinks that, that should be some other way, or I should think some other way, they usually would just, say, oh, it's because she's a consultant, she doesn't care about us, she doesn't care about the project or whatever. But I usually, every single time that I come in on a project, I come in there as a team member. I just tell them, hey, I just don't get paid for my time off. That's the only difference between us. Because if you divide all of my yearly compensation by, but all of the perks that everybody else gets, from a long career in the company, it's probably going to end up being the same. I don't think it's going to be that much different. But there's definitely sometimes it happens. And some people, I actually, some people were like, hey, you know what? I can't believe I've been doing this full time. I'm going to be a consultant now. And they left and became consultants. I have done that to people too. So it depends on the person. But that's a great question. Yeah, treat your consultants well. That could be your best resource on the team. I love consultants. When I came into this company, there was a guy from Microsoft who came in there just to set up the Azure pipeline and stuff. Man, it was so awesome to just like talk to a person who works on, other stuff other than you're used to, and just getting a different perspective. And even knowing that he was there for like a month or two, just makes you think, like, what else is out there, like, what else can I learn that I don't know? Because there's something that you don't know that, it's probably going to take you maybe like a Pluralsight course over the weekend, and you could learn it in the, maybe you're going to get that lead position if you wanted it, or you can become an architect one day. It is possible. It's not, it's not just, some kind of pipe dreams. It just makes you think that you're capable of more. That's all it is. Would you ever go back to being a full-time employee of a company? I'm just reading my last question. Sorry if I skipped one. Hold on, let's see. That was great, thank you. Okay, so let's go to the one before from PW. That was great, thank you. I'll never even consider consulting, so it's interesting to hear the other side. Yeah, so as I said, like, I fell into it, and I just kind of, after that first consulting, I was looking for a new job, and I actually got offered 2 jobs. One was a full-time and one was a consulting at a downtown company. So I was on this on this road, and it was splitting in 2. To the right, there was this consulting company. I would do SharePoint stuff, and I would, go from client to client. It was pretty good salary. And then there was this full-time, and it was also pretty good hourly rate. But when I did times 40, times 50, just something didn't end up. I came up with this much bigger number, and I'm thinking, like, what I got to lose? Like, the only thing that I could lose is in 6 months, this contract is going to be over, but I'm going to have experience of working as a consultant, and I can just keep getting these consultants, because I only need one job throughout the whole Chicago, and Chicago is a pretty big city. In the suburbs, there's a bunch of companies. I really just need that one job. So every time I'm done with my contract, ready to roll off, that is my mindset. I only need one job. I only need that one company to invite me for an interview, and I know how to nail an interview at this point. And just like everybody else, even though as much knowledge as I have, I run through the top 100 questions are asked at the interview, because that's what people ask. Because sometimes you forget, like, all of the actual questions and there's nothing wrong with doing that, because the real story comes in is when they ask you, tell me about the projects that you worked on. And that is what you have to be able to tell the person who's interviewing you. It's okay if you forgot how to say, what a closure is, or, what is that library that you have to use to read a JSON file or whatever. But if you can talk about the project and show that you provided value on that project, what kind of features you deliver, and how you worked with other people on the team, that is going to give you advantage over a person who's like just really good with answering all of the technical questions, and they have like 5 or 10 certificates. Like, for me, I don't have any certificates. I've never had time to pass any Microsoft certificates or anything. But I know there's value in it, and if somebody has it and they still have a good, compelling story, that that is a good candidate. So, not excluding one or the other. I'm just saying it's like a bigger picture. So. So the next question is, would you ever go back to being a full-time employee to a company? And never say never. One of the tech people have on Twitter was asking me to interview for, I'm not going to say the company name because I'm going to totally give it away. And I don't know, I'm like, if you're going to pay me C-level salary, then maybe I will. I don't know. I just feel really uncomfortable naming like a really big number for a salary and make people uncomfortable. I would rather just like stay with my rate, build up my rate, building more and more, being like maybe a lead or an architect one day, coming in and building a team around an enterprise software. I would be more comfortable doing that versus going with a company and becoming an employee again. I don't know. That is just kind of my path, what I envision for myself going forward. And that is just, it is what it is right now. But if somebody tells me, hey, be a CTO and, take over the startup and gives you a salary that, makes you comfortable, how could I say, maybe I won't say no to that, right? So yeah, so that's that. Should I read the next question? You want to read the next question? Okay. How did you start out getting leads for consulting work when you were starting out? Like when the well does not run out dry. That is my point. It does not run out dry. I am before I would put on LinkedIn that I'm open for work, and I'm still getting a bunch of invitation in my mailbox for .NET, full stack, all that. But if you put that you're available for work, then that's people just that I've worked with other consulting companies. They just come in and that's it. But I'm just saying, I want to emphasize now again, in my mind, the well does not dry out. It just, there's always one job for me. That's all I need. And now the well is even bigger because we now have an ocean of opportunities. Everybody's remote. There's, I don't understand how could I end up without a job? It's, if God willing and I'm healthy, then, I'm going to have my next consulting gig. So, yeah. Okay, are there remote opportunities as a consultant, or is it mostly on site? Well, I think right now everybody's remote. I've seen statistics that it used to be like 10% of all jobs are remote. Now they're saying out of 100%, 75% of all companies are staying remote. I don't know if it's true or not, but my company is staying remote. We actually became a more global team because some people from my group left, and they kind of brought up, because Aon is a global company, they brought up some people from UK and India, and we just ended up, being this global company who does not need to meet in the office. So I think right now is a different story. If it stays this way, it's yes, everything's remote. So if I'm asked to come back to the office, I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm looking for a remote opportunity. I'm just really enjoying working from home. I don't know how about you guys. I love the people. I love meeting with them for lunch and having coffee and having these chats and running to the stand up in the morning. It was all great. And I have lots of pretty clothes to wear. But, being a family person, to me, I have more time to spend with my children, taking them to, first time in my life, I actually don't have a nanny. And I have, my oldest is 25, just so you understand, okay? I've always had a nanny. There was not, I don't remember when I didn't have a nanny. If it was not my mom who was helping me with raising my children, there was some person who was helping me, taking them to activities and helping me around the house. Now I kind of, I just deal with it. It works. My kids are older, so now with school opening up, it's going to be even easier. I'm praying to God that everything is going to be better. So yeah, I can, finally, without feeling bad, go and work out and spend some time outside. And it just, I know, it's just great being remote. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you feel about remote?
I would like it to be hybrid, but it's probably going to be pretty remote from what I'm hearing. So
Yeah, I like it and I don't like it. I do like what you described, right? Having, I think, more time, right? Less commuting, being able to have lunch at home sometimes if you don't have meetings or whatever, right? I have a lot of meetings. If you couldn't tell, my schedule's like packed every day. But then again, I don't do real work anymore. I just go to meetings. So
tell us about you, Will.
you don't want to know. But yeah, so it's, I don't know. I think I do miss that in-person contact with people sometimes. And so I think if we're going to be remote all the time, I think that would be okay, as long as you still had some of those opportunities to get together and just hang out with the people that you work with, even if it's only like once a quarter or something like that. You just get together and, you know, eat some meals together and talk about the stuff that you're working on and what you're excited about and some of those things. I think meetups can help take some of that burden, but you want some of that with the people that you work with, and not all of them want to go to meetups. So, you know, that's,
Don't call it meetup, just call it a meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. A couple of people that are still left on my team are around, but a couple of them are like also moms. I think they're busy with their kids. A couple of them actually moved to other cities. Like we have one that moved to Indiana, one that moved to Arizona. So like it's a global team now. You know, it's probably 3 people could meet together, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. So if companies could take some of that money they're spending on big fancy buildings and just fly those people to a place where they can be together for
There you
like
go.
a couple of days, a few times a year, I think that'd be great.
That is a great idea.
That is. I like that. That's funny.
Okay. I really
Any other questions for Kate?
Yeah, that is my story. I don't know if I convinced anyone that consulting makes you a better developer.
I mean, you have to like pick stuff up quickly, right? I think that's like my takeaway is a lot of.
Well, and no two places are going to have the same tech stack, right? So you're always going to learn something new, no matter where you go. So I think the argument is it's a fair one, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to be a full-time consultant to do it though, or can you just do like, you know, some off hours gigs or whatever and get some of that?
I don't know. I'm not brave enough to do that. I just can't brave myself to an inconsistent paycheck. I don't know.
That's
Because
fair.
like, you know, it could be small or big depending, right? Like I was thinking like maybe go to freelance and like, because there is a way to get go to like Upwork and start applying for these smaller projects that but then you're competing with people who are charging $5 an hour.
Right.
So although it is an option and it could work, because I know people that it worked for. They actually, you know, because some companies do prefer to work with US based consultants. I just think that I don't want to do too many sales. I'm not ready for it. I would rather work on my technical abilities, my presentation abilities, you know, write blogs. Like if you look at my blog, if you go to katesky.com, my last blog is probably 2 years old or 1 year old or something. So obviously I'm not doing enough work there. And my personal brand is more important for me than doing that other thing right now. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I like that. Cool. Sweet. I think we got everyone's questions. So thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
For coming. So 1 second. I just pasted some links into the chat, and the first one is presenter feedback. So, well, first off, Kate, thank you for that presentation. I do think consulting is something, and I myself and many people have talked about being interested in, and I really do appreciate you sharing your experience and insights on that. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I didn't have any slides. Don't be too harsh on me.
No. And also thank you everyone else for joining us tonight. So yeah, if you can share your feedback for Kate tonight on her presentation, that also enters you into our prizes for tonight. Which are we adding? I know this is kind of last minute, but do we want to add on the conference ticket that Kate has?
Yeah, I can totally get 1 ticket.
Yeah, we'll just give out 1 ticket too. Okay,
Make
cool.
sure that let's make sure that people can actually attend it. It's 26th and 27th of August.
And is that one online? Is that in person somewhere?
It is definitely online. I'll find a link, 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, I was meaning to share the screen as well. So awesome. Okay. Yeah, then our other prizes tonight is an O'Reilly ebook or a JetBrains license. So please give us your feedback. They're appreciated. And so always for job opportunities or other fun discussions, check out our Slack channel. That's also in the links in the comments or up here. The links and all the other information can be found on our main website, which is slcnet.tech. And lastly, we welcome any presentation ideas from you guys as well. So please feel free to propose some ideas through this tidy URL link. And then we would also like to thank our sponsors, which is Health Equity, Tech Systems, DealerTrack, JetBrains, O'Reilly, and Manning. And there are other various ones on the website. I think we should start putting the small ones over here. I can do that for next time. And then Caleb, do you have the things ready?
I am putting names in as they come in. We currently have 5 submissions. I expect we'll have more here shortly.
Should we show the the next time presentation before we take the video off? YouTube?
Sorry, ignore all of it. Yes, here's the next time meetup event, which is going to be September 9th, 5:30. And our own Caleb Peterson is going to be the one presenting.
Hello.
Get
Okay.
excited.
Yeah, so presentation next time is on application insights. We'll be integrating it into an application. We'll be looking at the UI within Azure, and we'll be playing a little bit with the query language. So
Nice.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, sounds exciting. All right. Well, I'm going to take us offline from YouTube. Thanks everybody who watched along live. If you're catching this afterwards, you can always choose to like and subscribe the video. We always appreciate that. And